we decide we want to be who we are going to be because of the struggle that we are put through. That doesn't mean that their lives are not going to be full of struggle, because making the sacrifices you have to make in order to do well for others, it comes with its own lessons.
And this is why I love like being around people like you, because the entrepreneur mindset is something that, you know, really inspires me and motivates me, because I'm going to get things done no matter the cost.
I want to say the doctors have diagnosed cancer. I don't want to say I have cancer. Like, I don't think I ever surrendered to the cancer. I think I always knew that there was going to be a way to fight through it.
It's like, yo, when you have the right mentality and you have the right heart and you just keep moving, and you don't stop and you don't let yourself sulk, you have an opportunity ahead of you. All right, guys, welcome back to Breaking Barriers. With me, we got my co-host, John Porras, in the building. What's up, John?
What's going on, guys? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling blessed. I'm feeling pumped because you got our first guest on.
I do, yeah. And it's somebody I've known for a little bit, but he definitely has an interesting story, and what way to kick off this partnership with an impactful story. Welcome to the podcast, my friend, Get My Yud, Gerri Chape.
Thank you, JPZ, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate the welcome. I'm glad to be the cherry popper here on the group.
And he's doing it.
I'm glad to be the one to walk in and do it. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get it kicking.
Yeah.
I love it, man. And so, you know, when JP and I were having a conversation, you know, we were talking about wanting to, because obviously, you know, as I mentioned to you in the green room, you know, we had this podcast rocking for about 8 years now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a great team, but like they leave this stuff up to me typically. So there's not a lot of structure normally.
Okay.
So JP and I had a conversation, and you know, we were just like, we want to make impact in people's lives,
Amen.
Not just in business. So we started having a deeper conversation, and your name came up immediately. He was like, you know, you got to meet Gerri. He's like, Gerri is the man. He's starting businesses. He's got kids. He wants to help people. Godly man, you know, etc. You know, and so we were like, let's get him on. So I'm really honored that you're here today.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And I know obviously he was sharing with me that, you know, you're going through some cancer battle right now.
Yep.
And so I was like, damn. And when he was telling me what you're going through, plus he's like, yo, he's starting businesses, he's doing this, he's doing that. You know, that was before he told me you had 6 kids. That was a surprise for me today. I was like, all right, man, this guy, he must have a good amount of time on his hands. And he said 6 kids. I was like, what?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's a grandpa.
Yep.
And he looks like he's like in his freaking mid-30s.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
So God bless, dude. So the one thing I want to start off by asking you is, you know, obviously now you have 6 children, you have a grandchild. You know, you're going through this stuff with your health right now.
Yeah.
If you look back to before, you know, let's just call it your first kid.
Yeah.
'Cause I think we all change when we have our first child.
Absolutely.
Knowing what you know now, like, what advice would you give yourself because of what you've been through?
You know, I think I probably would have given myself two pieces of advice at that age. Yeah. One, I would have said, don't worry about it. The kids are not yours. They're God's. So the decision that I made or didn't make to have that child, you know, we don't decide at that age. I was in my early 20s to have a child and partying in college, and the way that it affected my life, the changes that it forced on my life, it's what you'd expect, right? All of a sudden, everything became a lot more chaotic. I got into a rush. I needed to lock things down immediately. Yeah. It was unnecessary. They're God's children. He's got a plan for them way before we do. And I think had I turned my life to him sooner, I would have gotten more control and really been able to enjoy those earlier children a lot more than I did, than I was able to enjoy them. Because really my life was, at that point, it was like, oh my God, I got to organize everything. I got to get everything under control.
Right.
I got to be the man that my father never was. I got to do all of these things when really they're God's kids.
Yeah.
And if I would have just turned to him sooner, they would have had a better life and I would have been able to enjoy them so much more.
So first of all, I love that. And what I like to kind of like unpack, right? So for people listening, so for somebody who may not be close or not have a relationship with God, right, that hears that, like what you just said sounds so simple.
Yeah.
But it's because you built that relationship over 20 plus years, right?
Yeah.
For somebody that's hearing you say that, what does that mean? Like so you turn to God. Like, what does that mean?
I'll tell you the crazy thing is this. I'll tell you a couple crazy things. One, my relationship with God is relatively new. I've been walking with God now, really walking with God for about 5 years.
Okay.
So the things that he's done to my life in a very short period of time, I think because the way that he did it, the way that he came into my life, forced me to change directions. I built a very, very, very different relationship with him. But I think when I say turning to God earlier, turning your kids to God earlier, it brings to mind like was probably the most difficult thing for most men to do when it comes to building a relationship with Christ, which is submitting. It's getting to a stage in your life where you say, okay, I don't have everything under control, and that's okay. I'm going to give it all to him, and he's going to help me walk through the things that I need to walk through to get there. So the one tip I would give anybody who's looking for that is find yourself a community of people who are doing that as well, or have done that, and they can help to guide you in the things that are important for turning your life towards him. And you'd be surprised how many things you can fix by being closer to him, submitting your life to him, even in areas where you don't think you need it.
That's good.
That's gotta hit it on that
This
one.
is we got the buzzer over here. I like it.
The hype button.
Okay,
Gotta hit
okay.
that one. Thank you for that, man. And I think that's deep. And I don't know if you had anything on that note before.
No, I think one of the best things is seeing people's lives before and after they have that change in their
How
life.
long have you known him, by the way,
Because
JP?
I have known him probably like 5 years, right?
Yeah, like 5-6 years.
Yeah,
So when
5-6 years.
your journey started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I met him at church. And
Got it.
The person I met was actually a very different person that is sitting next to me now.
Yep.
But he's always been like, obviously this is breaking barriers and having people who are serial entrepreneurs. He's always had that drive in him. But the fact of the matter is, like, once he had that change, it was a shift internally of like, what can I get? And now it's like, what can I do? That's why you see him speaking about his children and giving them over to God, because now he's serving his children. It's not something that was just given to him, and it's
Right.
another task
Right.
and things like that.
Right.
So being able to see the shift in him, and one thing that he mentioned is also putting the right people around you. Community is such a big part in what it plays in how it shifts. Your life shapes your life and your family's life. So yeah, it's really cool to see what, his life has become.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's pretty crazy. The first group I ever sat in at the church, John was sitting in the same group.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it, man. Somebody said in the group, oh, you want to be able to pray every day. And JP went through like some of what his prayer life was like. And he was like, yeah, I sit down, I pray for like 45 minutes. And I remember thinking like,
Damn, 45?
45 minutes? Like, what do you say to God for 45 minutes,
That's a whole gym session.
I'm like, you know what I can get done in 45 minutes, man? You know
Yeah.
how many work projects I can get finished in 45 minutes? Like, what do
Yeah.
you do in 45 minutes? And I actually said it to him in the group, and he was like, start with 10 and see what that does. And eventually you'll be sitting there for 45, and you'll be like, it doesn't feel like 45. And then next thing you know, you're sitting there for a couple of hours. And the battles that I'm in now, the strength that I have to fight through those battles now was birthed in that conversation of learning how to have 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour long conversations with God. That conversation gave me the prayer muscle I needed to be able to fight the battles that I fight now.
Yeah.
It's deep.
I want to go back a little bit. So obviously, we've established that you do have a hunger. You're a serial entrepreneur. You're very locked in. You're loaded. With that being said, like, take us back into the way you grew up. Obviously, you grew up, with a single mom and stuff like that.
Yep.
Where do you think, or where do you believe the hunger started to have this drive to succeed in life?
Oh, it was definitely having a single mom. I'll never forget the day that I decided I was not. Well, I mean, look, I was kind of born with some of it in me, like to begin with. I always started businesses from day one in my life. The very first business I started was a snow shoveling business, and I think I was 12 years old. And the average kid starts a snow shoveling business, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to go knock on doors and shovel snow. I was like, no, I need a staff who can answer calls while I'm out on the field. I need to be able to acquire shovels cheap beforehand, so that because I knew this blizzard was coming. I think it was the blizzard of 2006 or something like that. I remember. I think that's what it was, and I knew it was coming, and I was like, I need a team. This is going to be several days. So while everybody else was like, oh, we're just going to knock on doors, I think I kind of had that birthed in me. But I'll never forget, my father wasn't around, and my mom turned to me and my brother and said, I have men living in this house, and I'm taking care of all of you. There's no money coming into the house. I was a little kid.
Right.
Right? I was a child. But my mother was working so hard to try to make ends meet that it was kind of a wake-up call for me. And from that moment on, I decided I would never be poor again, ever. And I wanted to make sure that the people around me would never have that struggle. We used to have these meals on Fridays that were called, I wish I had a meat sauce. And it was spaghetti with no meat. We just had noodles and sauce because we couldn't afford the meat that came along with it. And I decided that was never going to happen again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was like the big switch that made me decide. But I think God put something in me early in my life that kind of gave me a strange understanding of like how businesses work beyond what I should have understood. Yeah. And I think one of the pastors said it to me is like, what the devil managed to do was get me to discover a skill that I didn't have the character to manage.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to start these businesses and make this money, but the character that came along with running a business properly, treating people properly through the business, making money, and then doing the right things with money, having boundaries around what you were willing to do to make that money. I didn't have any of those things in my life. So it really didn't matter to me. I was willing to do whatever in order to get it.
Okay.
And but yeah, that's what it was. It was definitely growing up with the poverty. I remember being so furious at my dad and even my mom at one point, because I didn't understand why she didn't go after him. Like, why don't you go after him to get the money that it costs to raise a child? Yeah. And I started in high school. I wrote a paper about I studied what the average cost was to raise a child, and I was like, one day I'm gonna make enough money to sue my father for all the money he should have paid to raise us, all the back pay, all the years of money that he owes us. And yeah, it took a lot of like being coming to Christ and being able to forgive him and get beyond forgiveness of him and actually honoring him to be able to fight through that. It wasn't until recently where I actually was able to get through that forgiveness, like maybe in the last 3-4 years ago, where I was actually able to get there.
Wow, God bless, dude. I really, really resonate with everything you just said, because that was me with my father.
Yeah.
Like as I told you in the green room.
Yeah.
You know, and I was at a Tony Robbins UPW event.
Okay.
And
Tony Robbins.
I was at Mr. Anthony Robbins, and I'm sitting there, and I was in this group. And in a nutshell, people were going through their own war stories of whatever, because most business owners got either mommy issues or daddy issues.
Yeah, man. Something lights the fire. Exactly. Something lights the fire.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's our misfortunes that make us fortunes.
Amen.
Right? And so I think at the end of the day, so I'm in this group, and we're having these conversations, and this lady's got this going on with her parents, whatever. So we're all crying, we're all being vulnerable, and you know, I go with my story, and I'm like, you know, I resent my dad, blah, blah, blah. And I think I went through, this was at, this UPW was 2019, right before COVID, when they were at the Prudential Center up there.
Okay.
But anyways, long story short, he was like, did you thank your father yet? And I was like, what? That mother? I was like, that mother? I was like, thank him?
I got words for him. Thank you's not one of them.
I was like, what? I was like, words? I was like, what? Or thank you, what? I'm like, so, but fast forward, you know, they hit me with like, hey, if he wasn't who he was, you wouldn't be you.
Yeah.
So how could you be sitting around here resenting the person who made you you? And in a nutshell, I had to like process it. And I kind of liked what you said about the devil in that aspect of it, because for me, the way I always viewed it was the devil put me in an uncomfortable position, but God gave me an opportunity to see it as, you know, something I can do and grow and be a, you know, a better man from.
Always does, yep.
And so, because like you said, I mean, some people, being a business owner, it's tough. People go to drinking, drugs, they do a bunch of stuff. You know, they're bad to people. They're not good to people. They don't use their business as a vessel to help. They use it as a vessel of greed. And you know, anyway, so I think when you shared all of that, I'm like, damn, like, you know, that resonates with me, because I think when you were going through this, I'm thinking about our kids, right? And how, you know, all of us at this table right now are who we are because of struggle. And when you're in the struggle and you're in that valley, you feel depressed, you feel angry, you don't understand, you feel uncertain, and there's all these things, and it's easy to be somebody blaming left and right.
Yeah.
But you know, Steve Jobs always said you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And so,
wow,
you know, and so for me, when I looked at it, like, you know, I don't know, like I looked at it like I remember having a conversation with my dad, like, you know, you are the exact model of what I don't want to be like.
Yeah.
You know, in an argument, a heated conversation. So when we had our rekindling, I remember being like, damn, like you know, again, us worldly people only know what we can see. we don't know the bigger picture yet.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like that moment at UPW. I was like, damn, I'm starting to see the bigger picture, because like you said, we're all God's kids, and we're all just doing the best we can with what we have. So your dad was doing the best he could with what he had, and who he was, and how he was raised, and so the bigger question is, how do we, because you said, I don't want my kids to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
And I don't want that either for my kids. That's why that's my number one priority, is being the best father and husband I could be.
Yeah.
And so, but I think the key ingredient, do you remember the Powerpuff Girls back in the day?
Yeah.
That show, Sugar, Spice, everything nice.
Yeah.
All those ingredients.
I mean, no, I never watched that.
Yeah, what? No. What are you talking about? Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah. What is that?
Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah.
But so when I think about those times, it's like the ingredient, I think, when you look at any professional athlete, you look at most of these athletes that come from poverty.
Yeah.
Right? There's always something. So how do we replicate success for our kids without that struggle?
Yeah. I kind of have an opinion on that, man. And I'll tell you, I think this is the thing. I think that we're so used to having to trust God to utilize the things that the devil has done. He uses all evil for good, right? And we're so used to doing that we forget that he can also use good for good, right? We forget that if we can give our children purpose that is outside of themselves, right? Because really, we decide we want to be who we are going to be because of the struggle that we are put through. It's very much a selfish struggle that we're going through. Even if we're saying, I want to do this for my family because I don't want them to struggle like I did, it's still us looking at our lives and deciding we don't want them to have to go through that, right? I think for my children, my hope is that they get focus and drive from wanting to do good for others, from understanding that there is a world out there that needs people to do good, and that they have been blessed with the capacity to do so in a very unique way, with a very different level of struggle. Now, that doesn't mean that their lives are not going to be full of struggle, because making the sacrifices you have to make in order to do well for others, it comes with its own lessons.
True.
It comes with its own life lessons.
True.
And so I'm hoping that my children seeing the shift, seeing that dad went from, I did it the other way, and now my life is driven and focused by trying to do good for others, and it's going to be just as, in some ways, more difficult to do that. I hope that is the new drive for them. And I think that as men, we need to build a culture around that, a culture around the struggle of doing good for others and how that affects our lives, because it can be far more impactful, I think, than having to carry that negative burden through your life. A couple of years ago, in my house, we were painting one of the rooms, and my dad always done construction work, and he just happened to be in town at the time. And I don't want to talk about my dad forever, but he just happened to be in town. And so my wife, wisdom that she has, was like, hey, you're going to paint it with your dad. It's going to give you time to talk to him. And so we were going to be locked in this room together for 6 hours, right? And so we had a very thorough conversation. And I realized a couple of things. One, I realized I was more like him than I think.
That's how it always happens.
It's atrocious.
You're like, damn.
I couldn't get away from it no matter how hard I tried.
Supposed to not like this guy.
Yes. He spent a lot of his life, once he got clean, trying to help others. He found Christ later in his life, and my family and everybody's always laughed at him and made fun of him because his car always smells like old food. His car smells like old food because he spent at the time his days collecting old food from restaurants and supermarkets and taking them to people where he could give them food to eat, just so he could have an opportunity to pray for people, right? It was something I never knew about my dad, that he had spent so many years doing that because he just wasn't around, right? And then I found out all of the bits and pieces, like what happened to him that he made the decision when he had kids. I didn't know his brother got killed right when he had kids.
Wow.
And so he was lost. I didn't know, check this out, he didn't know that there was a difference between Los Angeles University in LA and Los Angeles University in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so he got a full ride to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico and play football. And he thought he was going to a big Division I LA school.
Damn.
Yes. And so he went to this really terrible school to play football. And he was a D1 candidate. He could have went to play football, but he didn't have any family around him that could guide him through these decisions. And so he did have to take a lot of the punches that later on in life I didn't have to take. Now, did he make atrocious decisions? Absolutely. And I'm not going to, you don't forsake those decisions that he made, right? They were real decisions that he made, but very important lessons to learn and very important things to be able to move through and move out was an understanding of, like, he really did the best that he could with what he had. Right? And that's really just what we're doing too. We
True.
just happen to get more drive earlier, which allotted us a lot more to be able to be driven earlier in our lives and have a little bit more resources than they had to be able to move forward. And so from that aspect, I kind of got to forgive what he did because he took a lot of punches in the face that I ended up not having to take. Were they of his own doing? Absolutely. But does that mean I still get to look back and be like, dude, I'm not doing that? 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who disagrees with me because like I think that no matter what, I think there's a certain ingredient of struggle that builds that character in people.
Yeah.
But I think that, but my friend, he disagrees. He thinks that you're born the way you're born, and like so whether you're hungry and you want to go build businesses or help people, that's just who you are.
You're gonna do it no matter what.
You can do it no matter what, whether
Yeah.
you're struggling or not.
Yeah.
But definitely an interesting perspective that you had there. So it was good to hear that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm with him on that, though. On both sides. I do believe that if you put certain people in certain environments, they're going to do this similar things no matter what.
Yeah.
But I do believe how you do it is
Yeah.
impacted by how you were blessed.
Another good example, though, of how we were blessed by that stress growing up was so the way that I believe what you just said is because if I was my family moved from North Arlington down to Brick in 2002 because of my dad's drinking.
Yeah.
So my mom was like, we got to get away from Newark. Like, we got to get, because I'm Portuguese. So my dad's always down in Ironbound.
Yep.
So we got to get mad of there. So anyway, we moved down the shore. And at the time, right before I moved, I have some friends that JP and I have in common that just started to sell weed.
Yeah.
Right? And I never did it, never sold it, but it was like just the time that I left that opportunity was brought to one of my friends up there. And he's like, oh, I'm going to start doing it, making some money. I'm going to be making all this crazy money. And I think, because my wife always says, like, what would you be if you stayed in North Arlington?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. But like if my best friend was doing that stuff,
You would have been in there somewhere.
I probably would have been, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like you said, you were shoveling. I was mowing lawns when I was, in 5th and 6th grade. I was doing all this stuff. So I probably would have did something stupid. But because my dad had that issue, I got removed from that situation.
Yeah.
Right? Which could have possibly been what? He had jail time. He had other stuff like that. So I never went down that road because of my dad's drinking.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you think about all that.
That's really crazy.
How everything adds up.
It's not often where you hear my dad's drinking led to a move that was good for my life. Yeah. Oftentimes you hear my dad's drinking led to a move that was bad for my life, or I hated that.
Well, there was plenty of
That's
those too, by the way, Jerry. But
I'm sure there was.
But that move particularly was good, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me jump in here because this is like a great segue. We're talking about nature versus nurture, and you're going to be who you're going to be regardless of what environment that you're in. And this is why I love like being around people like you because the serial entrepreneur, the entrepreneur mindset is something that really inspires me and motivates me because I'm going to get things done no matter the cost. Mm-hmm. And finding the right people, finding the right mindset, you're willing to pay a good cost. Mm-hmm. And so right now, and I kind of want to park it right here, you're continuing to have that mindset regardless of having cancer. Mm-hmm. So, walk us and introduce us into that part of your life. Like, how was that process of like, hey, your diagnosis, like how that changed your life? And, walk us through that of like that first season and like where you're at now, still continuing to open up businesses regardless of having cancer.
Yeah. So look, the first thing I want to do is this, right? I want to say the doctors have diagnosed cancer. I don't want to say I have cancer,
correct,
right?
Because
it's not mine. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Yep.
It's not mine. It doesn't belong to me. I do not have cancer. I have been healed, and we're just waiting for it to manifest here in the life that we live in right now, right? So while we wait for that process to happen, while I learn to pray better and lean on God more and move that manifestation into my physical body, I don't want to say I have cancer. So let's start with that. I've been diagnosed, and we'll leave it there.
I love it.
So what am I working on right now? So kind of a strange situation. Initially, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I shut down by force most of what I was doing. All the work I was doing at the church and everything else, I had to get shut down. The diagnosis came on, like right after the diagnosis, I started taking chemotherapy, and the effects of the chemo came on so quickly, it took out my ability to do everything that I was doing. At the time, I was in the real estate business. I was flipping few houses at the same time.
Okay.
I had a couple of Airbnbs that I was running. I had fully rented out. I had a couple of houses under construction. Like, I was busy. I had a lot of stuff going on. That's always been the nature of my life.
Real estate?
Real estate primarily, yeah. I figured out at a really young age. I'll never forget it. Somebody said to me, I was working at a restaurant and I was serving tables at the restaurant, and I was kind of a loud server. Like, I was just that server where I was taking over the entire room, right? Like,
That was me too, bro.
It was
Ruby Tuesdays. Boop, boop.
I was working at a place called Fire and Ice. Super strange, right? And just a very unique restaurant. But yeah, I was loud, just very loud. And I remember I had a guy at my table who said to me, "Hey, how much is that plate of food?" And I looked at him like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Why are you spending so much energy selling something so cheap? Why don't you sell something more expensive? Why don't you come work for me and sell real estate?" And I had already dabbled in real estate here and there. And he was like, "Why don't you, if you're going to be in sales," which clearly everything is. If you're going to,
Oh, yeah.
everything is sales.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, all by itself, seriously. But if you're going to be in sales, why don't you sell something more expensive? And so I jumped into real estate at a pretty young age. I was actually in college at the time, and I'll never forget it. My teacher at the time in school, I was taking entrepreneurial studies at Johnson Wales University, and he said to me, like, "What are you doing here? Like, you're starting businesses so you could go to school to learn to start businesses." And I was like,
Yeah, why do you need school?
Yeah.
"Oh, you're kind of right."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Okay." And I left, and I was out of there. And so in school, I started a couple of businesses, and then I ended up falling into real estate. So anyway, then I get this diagnosis. Diagnosis comes in. Crazy thing is, I get diagnosed with cancer. 2 days later, I find out my wife is pregnant.
Ooh.
Back to back.
Wow.
Yes. So we were basically like praying, like, "God, what are you doing
Yeah, what's happening
right
here?
now?"
What's
Like,
happening here?
We had, at the time, we didn't want any kids. I was 5 kids in already.
Right.
We were just starting to reorganize our lives. My wife does really well in employment that she does. And the work that I was doing, we were just super comfortable.
Right.
And it was really like, we don't need more kids. Like,
Right, we're good.
We need more vacations is what
Yeah.
we need. We need more
Right.
hangout time. We need to enjoy some of what we've earned. And so
She needs a break.
and a super break. A super
Yeah,
break.
she's like, I need a break.
She was done. And so, and so then I got the diagnosis and I wasn't able to work all of a sudden. And so I had properties. I've been in the business long enough that I don't use banks for most of the money that I borrow. I have private investors that bring it to me now.
So that's how
And
you
so
know you're legit.
So I've been told.
Yeah,
so I've been
that's the
told.
number one sign you're legit. People are gonna give you their personal money.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
legit.
So it was good business. And I was all of a sudden not able to pay back the funds that I had borrowed because I couldn't finish the projects that I was
right.
working on. And that's when chaos struck in my life. Everything fell apart, right? Because now you can't finish the flips. Now you have all these people that you owe debt to. Now all of a sudden I can't pay my mortgage.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden car payments are struggling. Now all of a sudden the things that we're doing with our kids that we can't do, private schools struggling, everything all at once.
Dang.
And then at the same time, am I going to live?
Right.
Right? Like, how do I set up my family for what really matters for tomorrow? Because
Right.
it's not the bills, right? And at the time, God had really given us like a gift of generosity. And now all of a sudden, but what people don't realize is that when you have a gift of generosity, people begin to rely on you to be generous.
Yeah.
And when all of a sudden you can't do that anymore, you're letting down people in the darkness now.
Yeah.
People who aren't going to scream and shout about it, but really the people who kind of need it the most, right?
Feel that.
And it just set up for some very difficult situations in my life. So that was problem number one. Like, what do we do now?
So then, well, thank you for sharing that part
Yeah,
of the story,
thank you, bro.
which is super incredible.
Also love your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the mindset that I keep telling you guys about, that you guys don't sometimes even see. Like, both of you are like very similar in very different ways, but similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so we see the diagnosis that obviously we're rejecting. We see how your life has switched. You obviously still have cancer, still have all your hair, which is incredible.
Yeah.
It didn't even fall out.
Not a single one.
Where was the shift where you're like, okay, this is my life. I'm not staying here. I'm not parking my vehicle here.
Yeah.
It's time to get back in the saddle. And since then, you've opened up 3 businesses.
Yeah.
Where was the shift? Was it the mindset? Was it the people? Was it an event? What was it that changed your mindset to let's get back to it?
So I don't think I ever surrendered to the cancer. I think I always knew that there was going to be a way to fight through it. Like I could never see that this disease, stage 4 or not, what people were telling me or not, it was just not going to take me out.
Yeah.
I remember I went to see the first doctor I went to see was a young guy. My doctor sent me to see him, and he was like, dude, you've got maybe 5 months to live. No matter what you do. Yeah.
Wow.
Right out the door. He's like, you've got, mind you, we're 2.5 years in now. He's like, thank you.
God
He's
bless.
like, you've got maybe 5 months to live. No matter what you do, this disease is going to kill you, period. So, enjoy your 5 years, your 5 months. Make sure you get everything set up properly with your family because you're done for, right?
Wow.
And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, I rebuke you, dude.
Yeah,
And
that's not happening.
I was like, you're
That's not
bugging.
happening.
Walked out of that office, went to see another doctor. That doctor was much older, and he said, you know what? This is actually livable. You probably got a good another 25 years or so in your life. And I was like, better. Still not good enough. Still not good enough. I'm not hearing that. So then I started speaking to a couple of friends of mine who had been through a similar battle, and they connected me with a hospital in New York with MSK. And I went and saw a doctor there, and I'll never forget the doctor there. She looked at me, and she goes, at the time I lived in the gym a lot. She was like, you're in pretty good physical shape. How often you go to the gym? I'm like, oh, I do like 2 hours every day, as much as I can. I try not to miss a day, and she's like, what is your social life like? I'm like, oh, I'm tied in pretty closely to my church. I got some pretty close church brothers. My family is very tight. And she's like, oh, what's your diet like? And so after we had walked and talked through all that stuff, she kind of said to me, you know what? I think we can go with the most aggressive treatment possible. And that was kind of the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
Right? Like I knew right out of the door that whatever it took, I was willing to do. I think because I had kind of looked into, I'll tell you something strange that ties to this that I just figured out a couple of days ago. I had spent a lot of my life running from cancer, not knowing, without having cancer. Like I would often say to people, so for instance, I would
Can
be
you say
with,
that again?
I had spent a lot of my life running from cancer, not having cancer.
What do you mean by that?
So for instance, I would say to my kids, we would go to get something to eat. And so my children have never had McDonald's. Never once in their entire lives.
Smart.
I will not take them to McDonald's. In fact, my mom took my daughters to McDonald's, and they called me from McDonald's like, Dad, Grandma's trying to kill us. She's got us at poison plays. Like that's how serious it was to them.
Okay.
And so what I would always say to them is this place causes cancer. Right? Like do not eat there. And so there were multiple things throughout my life. Oh, can we have these chips? Doritos? No, they cause cancer. We're not eating Doritos, right?
Damn.
So I realized now recently that I spent my whole life running from that. Like it was part of like people would ask me, why do you go to the gym? And I'd be like, because cancer ain't catching me. I don't know why. I always had that built into the back of my brain, but I think I almost opened the door to evil being able to access my life through that because I constantly spoke about it. Like I created an avenue for that kind of access into my life through that, right? And so always spoke about that. And so I don't think the diagnosis was that strange.
Yeah.
I think I created that.
Okay.
Dude, you know what's crazy? I think that you were put in this position because you're going to help so many people that are going through this position that never could imagine the mindset you have.
Oof.
Because the power of your mindset, dude, is so, like when you're going through war, and you look to your left, if this guy's shitting his pants, you're going to be like, oh, god damn, we're done for.
Yeah.
But if you have a leader who's like, we're going to be okay, we're going to get through this, you're going to move differently.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think most people move through tough positions like that with their head down, scared for their life, right? And freaking out, and they don't have that mindset where it's like, I'm going to change this. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I just think that, the amount of people, so I think you'll respect this, speaking of a morality conversation, but having kids, the one thing that made me realize is that 2 generations after me, I don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because how often do you guys talk about your great-great-grandparents and shit? We don't. Right?
Oof, that's serious.
So the only impact you can ever make in the rest of your life, because we're just a dust of sand in this fucking life. Right? So, but that little dust is our family, our kids, our friends, the people we work with, etc. And then, if we're lucky too, knowing you and how young you are, you might see your great-great-grandkids with you.
Yeah, facts.
But
I did the math. I think I go that far down the line. I did the math.
I think you're gonna. But I think at the end of the day, dude, it's like, when you think about people who make generational impact, it's people who got to go through tough shit like you are, that can be out there in the world making a mindset shift for people who have cancer, that are going through cancer, and have a different mindset. Because we know when that stuff happens, like there's some like guidelines you're gonna do. You're gonna go to the doctor, you're gonna get these whatever, but nobody's really you have the grief therapy and the other things that they put into play to help you, but there's not somebody there that's like, yo, like if you think about this differently, you're gonna give yourself a way better chance. And again, not to go crazy left here, but think about the Knicks being down 29 points. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody in my house, I had 20 people in my house that literally left at halftime.
Yeah.
Left at halftime. They're like, yo, this is over. Knicks being the Knicks, throwing shit. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, come on. I'm like, imagine they come back though. I'm like, come on. And when you look at the hustle of that team, it unlocked a lot in life for me, because I was like sitting there, and I'm a Jets and I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm used to losing. Right? I'm loyal to a fault. And by the way, ladies, if you're out there and you're single, look for a Jets or a Knicks fan, right? Because that's how you know they're loyal to the end, to a fault. They're never gonna give up. They will never give up. So anyway, long story short, seeing them come back, like the odds that the Knicks were going to win, the experts who look at every angle of basketball to the nth degree gave Knicks a 0.4% chance of winning. Right? So that's 99% they were going to lose plus, right? And when you think about the fact that they won, and at every game it was 99 point something that they were going to lose, right? And they won the series. It's like, yo, when you have the right mentality and you have the right heart and you just keep moving and you don't stop and you don't let yourself sulk, you have an opportunity ahead of you. And I think that's the one thing when I look at people who are successful in business, in nonprofit, in church work, in their family, and whatever the hell, it's people who just picked up, dusted themselves off, and just kept moving. Right? And had that mindset. Right? So I think for you, dude, like you were blessed with this to change thousands and thousands of people's lives, not just the people you know in your community. I think it's bigger than you.
Amen. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that, man. Actually, one of the businesses that I'm working on right now, which came to me completely unexpectedly, is a staffing agency that I'm building right now. And it's S3 Workforce is the name of the company. Brand new, very, very different style of staffing agency. So most staffing agencies, what they do is they try to acquire as many people as possible, and then they send them out to do a job, and however many people stick to the job, those are the ones that are going to hang around, and everybody else is kind of disposable, right? But my birth of the staffing agency came from the premise that I don't think people are properly prepared for the workforce today. I think that there are skills that people need in their lives that people are not given when they're sent out to work. And so my staffing agency does something a little different. We actually train people beforehand to be better people before we send them out to do any work.
Love that.
So S3 stands for Seed, Sift, Send. So we pour seeds into the men and women that we're training, that we sift through them. We're trying to work through the people there and help to figure out which ones are ready for what degree of work now and which ones can do work later. And then we send them out into the field. Right. Our belief premise being that we're not just building employees, we are building what we call operators. When we send one of our members out to work in a location, we are sending somebody who is going to change the way the work site feels, moves, and works, because we have sent an S3 operator there. You are going to know that our team is there. And so we teach what we call the 10 commandments of work. We teach things like why it's important to show up on time. Not why it's important to show up on time because the world says we should be on time, but what the moral importance of showing up on time is. Why it's important to have integrity, why it's important to tell the truth, why it's important to have a good attitude. And we help the men and women that go through our program build that into who they are as a person, and then bring that into the field that they're working. Now, they may decide S3 is not the best fit for them. They may decide, I found work somewhere else. But either way, no matter what happens, we have built a better human being and sent them out into the world. And I think that is where legacy is built. That's where we have the opportunity to actually change the world around us. If we can help take the processes and things that we have learned through the reading of our Bibles and build that into the workforce and send out men and women that have these things built into their character. That's what changes the world around us. And
deep.
I think it gives me a much better opportunity to have much better employees. So around that, what I needed to do was, with most staffing agencies, when you come in, you get employed right away because they're going to send you out to do whatever job. Because I need time to train some of these people, I needed a way to employ them as well. So alongside that, I sold. I owned a landscaping company along with a partner of mine. I sold my interest in that landscaping company, and I launched a junk removal company and a handyman business. So now what happens is when I bring in these people, as they begin their training, I can employ them immediately in the handyman business and in the handyman business and in the junk removal company while they're going through the preliminary steps of the training. And then as I sift through what level of training they need, I can then introduce them to more work out in the field and the areas that they're needed, whether it be warehouse work or anything else. The interesting thing is, man, you'd be surprised how qualified this people I'm getting applying for work in a staffing agency of all places.
Wow.
Like, a couple days ago, I had an ex-military fighter pilot applying for a job. Like, dude, he was like, I'll do anything. I'll do junk removal. Military fighter pilot, man.
Right.
Right.
Because they just can't find work. They can't find anything. And so the staffing agency is something I never would have dreamed of building. I was literally asleep one night, laid out in bed, asking God, like, what am I going to do next? And at the time, I had shut down all the businesses. And I went to service one morning, and my Pastor Anthony, was speaking. And it's funny how God will use a service that doesn't have anything to do with what you're dealing with to speak to you. Pastor Anthony, I will never forget that day. He had said that he had spent the weekend before at a campsite with a bunch of other high-level producing men, and he was there overnight with them. And I remember saying, man, I can't even do that right now because mornings are so rough with this illness. Like, I couldn't even stay at a campsite overnight. And that day, I remember hearing God say, go. And I was like, oh, we're back. We're back to work now. And I turned to my wife that day, and God does as God does. He had told her the same thing. So we left service that day like we were ready. I was also, I think that day had a fresh, almost like a fed up nature with the cancer. Like, that day I walked out and I was like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not fighting it anymore. Like, it's done. It's out of my life. Like, what do I have to do right now to get through it? And God sent me a few people in my life who are already close to me, who were already whispering into my life, who in those next couple of days began shouting in my life in very different ways, and kind of letting me know, like, hey, God's watching you. He's close to you, and it's time to go. One of them actually said to me, like, hey, aren't you fed up with this yet? And I was like, I literally just said that. Like, I am just done with this. And it was just God kind of telling me it was time to go. And so that night I went to sleep, and S3's entire training manual downloaded in my brain that night. 3 a.m. in the morning, I woke up, grabbed my laptop, and just started writing. And by the time my wife woke up that morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, I had written a 40-page training manual that had stuff in it that I had never seen before.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, God, this is what we're doing.
That's awesome.
Let's go. Let's run with it. And it took from there.
Have you ever heard the saying? I forget. It's not a saying, but I heard somebody say a while back where it's like the devil whispered into his ear and said, "You can't handle the storm," and the guy whispered back, "I am the storm."
Yeah. Oh, I heard that. Yes.
That's a good one.
I love it, man. That's just bad.
It's mentality.
That's nasty right
So
there, man.
I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast,
Yeah, man.
I can spend all day
we're
talking to the
warmed
both
down.
of you guys.
Yeah.
But as we land this plane, and obviously, breaking barriers the way it's going, it's like we want people to change the story they're telling themselves.
Amen.
So if you were able to share in maybe 3 to 5 sentences an encouraging word of someone who's like in the dumps, like, yeah, that's a story for you. Like, good for you. Like, you're an entrepreneur. You got that mindset, getting it done. Like, that's not me.
Yeah.
What would you tell them to change the story they're telling themselves?
Okay, this is what I would say. And it was the best message God has given me. In the book of Ezekiel is told, so there's a scene in the book of Ezekiel where there's a chariot. And the chariot has 4 heads, and the 4 heads face in every direction. But no matter what direction a chariot goes, the Bible says the chariot moves in the right direction. The thing that keeps the chariot moving in the right direction is the Holy Spirit. And so the lesson I learned from that is, as long as you have the Holy Spirit working with you, every direction you're going is the right direction. So spend time with God. Make sure you have the Holy Spirit in your life, and you can make sure that you are moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you'll find your inner dragon too. You'll find that strength as well.
Quick follow-up question. For someone who doesn't know God,
Yeah.
that like, I don't know, what's the Holy Spirit? What is God? How do I do that? Like, what would you say to that?
First of all, I'd say pick up the book.
What is the book?
Pick up the Bible.
Okay.
People think it's a hard thing to read, and for some people it is. But pick it up, read it once, read it twice, read the same page 15 times if you have to, whatever you have to do. Find yourself a good community. Get around some people who are in it, who live by it, who follow it. Shameless plug, Jersey, Church, Transform Church, great place to start. Get yourself around some people who can help guide you through it, even small bits at a time. That's where success comes from.
And where can the people find you?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, always bet on God, _ in between every word, always bet on God. Also, if you'll go to my Instagram and you'll go up to the little like information blurb that's up there, you'll find that I have a school page. It's set up for anybody who's looking for a community to get around. You want to spend some time in the Word. You want to get around people who are doing these things. Join that school page. Great place to go. Also, if you need prayer, and we all do, especially if you heard me say if you need prayer and your response was I don't, trust me, you need prayer. Go to that page. There's a phone number there. You can call anonymously. Let me know what you want me to pray for. I will pray for you. I will send you that prayer directly. Nobody will ever know, or everybody will know. It's entirely up to you how you want that to go. But we have prayers and we have community for you right there. Always bet on God is my Instagram. Come check me out. I'm here for you guys. Love you.
So good. Any final words?
Dude, first off, very impressed by you.
Thank you, man.
With nothing of it having to do with what you've done in your business. I'm impressed with you because of who you've became from struggle, and the father and the leader you are, and the husband you are. I mean, listen, dude. At the end of the day, I always said, like, me personally, because I came up from struggle.
Yeah.
I don't respect somebody who has a golden spoon in their mouth and a silver one up their ass.
I know that.
So
feeling.
so you being somebody who built yourself up with the right people around you and want to make your community and the world a better place is super admirable, man. And I love your mindset, and you can't have a mindset like that unless you've been through some shit.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So it's beautiful. God bless you. I know you're going to do amazing things in your life, and continue to do that.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the next couple of children you have. Hey, whether they're your grandkids or yours.
Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Right now, my babies are a couple of properties we're working on. That's where all the focus is today. But after we spit out those kids, I'm hoping, I'm praying that my wife and God will agree on a couple more.
Yeah. Be praying for you and your family
Thank
as well,
you, my man.
dude.
Thank you.
It's been an honor.
No, it's my honor, man. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on here. I look forward to coming back one day and talking about what we've accomplished in the interim and seeing what happens here, man. I'm glad to be able to pop your cherry, but I'm sure there'll be a lot more capable guys, and I can't wait to see what you do with this channel and where you take it, man. It's going to be some interesting conversations, I'm sure, and I'll be listening.
Look forward to it, man. Thank you.
Thank you for watching The Breaking Barrier Show. Tune in on all podcast and streaming platforms.